Hey everyone, it's Lana from The Wandering Brush. I have a quick video shot in real time of a sunflower bouquet class that I've done a few times now with beginners. Very loose and fun. I'm just drawing out a map of where I want my 3 sunflowers to be by putting in their centers. A couple of squiggles for where the roses are going to be placed, and lines where my lupines will pop out as foliage in the background. Azo yellow, yellow ochre, quinacridone pink. I'll also be using a bright orange, a light green, a sap green, a little bit of some cerulean, as well as burnt umber. So those are the colors today. Quickly shaping my sunflowers, just using the point of the brush to create each of the petals. I'm going to start off tight, and then I'm going to come in and loosen them all up. Once I established my lights, I decided to loosen up and break some of these edges. And I wanted to create a really glowing background, so I brought in some sunburst yellow brusho to create this very glowing, soft background. And because it's a pigment, the color won't fade, whereas the regular yellow paint would fade off and I would probably be pushing it back in. So I took a little bit of brusho, sprayed at it, and wherever it was too wet, I lifted up with a paper towel because I'm going to be moving into making my lupines, which are going to be blue and purple, and I didn't want those to bleed into my sunflowers. Using a combination of cerulean blue and that permanent rose, I started to shape my lupines by dropping down the blue first, mixing up some of this rose with the cerulean blue would create a really nice light purple, and let them slightly blend right on the paper so I have a variation. Later on you'll see me come back and reshape these a little because they'll start to get a little clustered and lose some of their fine little edges. I also spray them off just to kind of continue that flow of color that's melting into the background. Now, because it's a beginner class, I wanted to find a way to create roses that were simple and approachable and not too difficult. So I did this little quick drawing. Then just using the tip of my brush with some straight permanent rose, I outlined the parts that I want to be the darkest. And I'm gonna create all 3 roses here. And then I'm going to come back with some clean water after it's stained. It can't be too wet. The paint has to stain for about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the humidity. But it has to be wet, but not dry. Not so wet that when you add the water that everything smushes into one color, but not dry so that you have to forcibly move the color. So I basically went through all these, and this is real time, and I'm working wet on dry, so it's going to dry a little faster. You will also see in the photos at the end that one class decided they wanted to do poppies. So understand that sometimes the classes, we have little democracy rules, and we can change it up a little bit to fit your own personality. So just remember that when you're using clean water to blend these into one, you're going to be lifting up color, and you have to tap it back out on your paper towel. Otherwise, you're just going to keep dispersing the same color in different locations. So it's a little bit of a mixture of a little bit of water, blending, putting the water on the paper towel. So I usually have a paper towel in my hand when I'm working on things and while blending. Now that my yellow has dried, I can create a nice dark center. I'm going to start with a lime green, really thick, and then I'm going to actually put some brown black layers directly on top. Nice and thick is the key here. because I'm going to salt it to create the seed head texture. Now I have to fill in some of the greens. I like to put my flowers in first. That way I can have some room to decide where my green's going to be. Fill up some of that negative space with starting with my lightest green, and then building up my colors and creating a nice drippy bouquet stalk at the bottom as my first layer. And then I start to darken up my greens with using some of the sap green mixed in with a lime green, add a little bit of the blues and browns, and start warming up my greens and filling in some leaves. Now that my underpainting is complete, I'm going to go back with some brighter and thicker colors and start shaping my sunflowers. I like to draw in a few loose and broken edges using a thicker paint, just the tip of my brush to shape my sunflower petals, and then I'll go back in and reshape my lupines, darken my roses as needed, create some heavier stems and bigger leaves to finish out my bouquet. So enjoy the rest of this video, and then at the end you can be able to see some different interpretations from beginner watercolor artists just like you. I really enjoy throwing in some real skinny little sticks and flecks and kind of finishing it off with some darks. You'll see that the class pictures, everyone has such a different interpretation, and I am using all the same materials that I would use in my class so that people have a realistic expectation of what they can achieve. I want to thank you for stopping in, checking out this real-time video of Sunflower Bouquet. Hope you give it a whirl. Let me know if you like it. Hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be aiming for 2 videos a week. Look at me go. Again, it's Lana from The Wandering Brush. Thanks for coming in.